Hey, everybody. I'm so excited you're here. It's Mary with Midlife Discussions and beyond. Because if midlife ends at 60, then I'm a little bit over that mark. So today's discussion is about how to find friends after 50. I could say how to find friends after 60, but really, as we age, and we go through career transitions, our kids are grown and gone, so we may not have that parent-child connection any longer, or teachers or anything like that. So how do we actually find friends after 50? That's what today's discussion is all about. I'm so happy you're here.
Good subject. I just made 2 new friends here, and did it by going online and finding the gardening club and joining it and going to a meeting. And
Nice.
then I invited 2 ladies to coffee, and they came.
There you go, which is why I think that this topic is so important, is to make sure that we, as we age, are always seeking, like, who is this next cool person that I could meet? What is interesting from the people that I have met from seeking friends here, girlfriends here, is that they might not have been women that I would normally have selected or hung out with, but I had to take the time to meet them, and then find out, kind of sift through all of that and see who I wanted to keep connection with, and who also this conversation has to do with who I need to release, like who I need to let go, because that's just as important as finding new friends, is making sure that you are not hanging around with people that bring you down, that try and hold you back, that try and instill their political, religious, sexual, whatever kind of views on you, that you kind of learn to remove yourself from people like that in your life, so that all you've got is this richness. And although, like Terry said, you may find yourself hanging out not with all of your newfound friends together, but you do different things with different people. No different than if you have kids. No different than, like, both of my girls are even though they were born 2 years and 5 days apart, they're like night and day. So no different than the things that I do differently with each of my girls. I don't do the same thing with all of my girlfriends. So don't try and put these female friends into one category. You're actually seeking friends for different reasons, if you want to think about it that way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm not looking for the same, like, I'm not looking for those same relationships that I had in, like, elementary school or high school, where, we had something, this underlying school thing in common, or something. We're not, once you get here to where we are, it's like you end up formulating your life a little bit differently. What were you going to say, Terry?
Just real quick, that to listen to them and not just talk, but listen to them and kind of go with the flow with each one of them, to let it develop between the 2 of you, is important, I think, too. Because I needed to take in that they were not feeling it for the other movie, and adjust my thought of the 3 of us would go to both of them. Just an example.
Right? Expectations, right? Like, let go of expectations and just kind of be there, which is also really important. So when I first moved to Poland. I don't speak the language. I mean, so there are, I think, 6 levels to a language. There's like A0, A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2. So there's 7 layers to a language. So C2 is, like I wouldn't even be a C2 English person. Like it's like really grammatically, proficient. Like you could be a translator. Yeah, that's translator level. Like if I wanted to be a translator for the English language, I couldn't be because I'm not there grammatically, right? So for me, in order for me to get to Polish citizenship, there are 2 ways to apply. One is for me to be able to pass a B1 Polish exam, which is I have to be able to write and I have to be able to read aloud something that's given to me and then to tell the interviewer what it is that I read in Polish.
Yeah.
And so that's not going to happen. I'm still at A0, even though I've taken 3 years of Polish. Like I'm just not there. It's just not sticking. So in coming to a new country, I mean, I have like my girlfriends, I don't know about you guys, but like my girlfriends are super important to me. But do you find that like your girlfriends are your
Oh, sure.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, I love my husband, my third one, but I don't. There's something different that I talk about with my girlfriends, and things that I want to do differently with my girlfriends. So I knew that moving here, that was like the first thing that I thought, because this was my choice. Just like Mary Foster was just saying, and Gloria were both just saying that Gloria's just moved to Oregon from Arizona. Mary has moved to Arkansas from Arizona. Lorelai is hopefully going to be in a transition. Terry, you moved from someplace else back to California,
Well,
and
a long time ago. Yeah.
right. So
Yeah.
as we choose to move to a different place, I still have my friends in America, but that friendship is different. The people that I have found, people that are that have either traveled or moved around a bit in their lives as well. And honestly, like Terry said, I started looking at Facebook groups for people that were commenting on things that were of interest to me. And once I could see that we might have something in common, then I would start replying to their comment or commenting on their comment. And then I might click and go over to their profile. And then I might add them as a friend so that I could see what they were, I could see the rest of the people that they were surrounding themselves with to make sure that they were like the real deal, like somebody that I would kind of like to hang around with, maybe sort of kind of, if I got to know them. Like, if for instance, hi, Kira, if I was going to somebody's Facebook profile and they were talking about religion or politics, even though I liked what they were commenting on in the Facebook group feed that I was in, that we were in together, then that's not of interest to me. Like I don't want to go there. And I always check people out. I don't take them first go round. If we're in a Facebook group together and I see that you like that, I like that, let's go for coffee. No, I always go and I do the work and I check them out. And if I'm kind of on the fence, I'll even Google them to see where else they're posting. Maybe they have a LinkedIn post. Maybe, maybe they have a website. Like maybe they've got something, like something going on, but I want to make sure that I'm not going to invite somebody for coffee that is going to be, like a terrible first date, because it's really kind of like what it is, really. I mean, I think of it as almost like, almost like speed dating, that first coffee that you're having. Or the other thing that I stay away from is if somebody hasn't put up their profile picture. So if they're not willing to like show me who they are, then I'm I'm not willing to say, hey, send me a picture of yourself so that I can see what you look like when we meet for coffee, because that's like dating an axe murderer, or like what you see. Like I was watching a movie the other day and there was it was somebody was doing meeting somebody for a drink, and on their profile picture is all studly with a six-pack, and and then they meet and he's bald and fat, and I mean that I want somebody that's going to be authentic. So the other thing, I don't know if you've gone down. Well, for those of you that travel, even and you can even do this now. There's an organization called Internations, internations.org, and internations.org is a website for people, generally for people that are living outside of their home country, or people that travel. And Internations helps you to connect with people that are like-minded. Like they'll have groups, like a wine and cheese group or a movie group, or it's kind of like Facebook for people that like to travel. And and the other cool thing about Internations that I really like is they have a wonderful blog. They have a blog about traveling. And so I get to read about things, even in whether it's in Poland or in the US. I can find out about traveling in the US, or people that have gone to the US or lived in the US that I can connect with. And although I may not be able to meet them face to face because they may be off someplace, I can still consider them and reach out to them and connect with them in a way that could build on a friendship. So for instance, for me, my husband and I are planning a road trip in September throughout Europe. And I'm now looking on Internations and in Facebook for people along the way that I've had conversations with to see if I might be able to stop and have coffee with somebody. Right? So there are lots of ways for us to connect. The trouble is, I think, is that we're the ones that have to do it. We're the ones that have to put ourselves out there. And that comes generally with a lot of fear, a lot of what if they say no? Which I'm like, thank God they said no, because that saved me from having to meet somebody for coffee that I wasn't going to like, So the other thing that I did was LinkedIn. So when I moved to Poland, I started stalking women on LinkedIn that I thought had similar interests, similar jobs that I used to have or do have, similar, like just some similarity about the things that were of interest to me, as well as on Facebook and Instagram, the same way, people that are posting similar things. So I would search the city that I was in. I would search like leadership development or self-development or self-care or wine or movies. and up would come a list of women, and I would start to look at their backgrounds. And if I felt as though there was something there that was similar, that I felt like wasn't going to be a chore to have a conversation with, because right, if you have something in common, then when I would message these people, because I wasn't sure how, if they came from a different country, I wasn't sure if I would be able to understand them over the phone. So I messaged everybody, and I would say, "Hey, I'm Mary. I'm new in town." Seriously, I did this. I cannot believe it. Now that I look back on it, I can't believe I did this. "I'm new in town and I really miss my girlfriends. Would you care to have coffee with me?" So, of course, I had women that didn't respond. I had women that said, "No, please don't contact me ever again." And I had women that said yes. And so it wasn't like the people that didn't respond to me or the people that said no, like that I was ever going to bump into them on the street. Right? I mean, there was no reason for me to be embarrassed or feel bad that they didn't want to have coffee with me, because quite honestly, I don't know if I would have had coffee with anybody that sent me a message and said, "Hey, I'm new here." But I had in Warsaw, I ended up with like 12 women that were cool, that were really cool, that came from all different walks of life. And that they also introduced me to some other really cool women's groups that were in Warsaw at the time, because that's where I was living. And then I had my 60th birthday in Warsaw, and there were 31 people there from, I think it was 11 different countries. So like that wouldn't have happened. It would have been my husband and I having coffee with coffee and cake for my 60th birthday. If I hadn't of put myself out there and was okay with either somebody not responding to me or somebody saying no or blocking me. Like, I don't care if they block me. Like, what do I care? I don't know them anyway, so maybe I'm not going to like them. Right? But if they're not going to take the time to check me out, then they're probably not my people. Right? If somebody sent me a message like that, "Hey, I'm new here. Would you like to have coffee with me?" The first thing that I would do is Google them. Right? I'm not just going to go, "Oh yeah, let's do that." I want to know what nut job has the gall to like send me a message like that, right?
Yeah,
So go ahead.
just very, when contacting relatives that I discovered on Ancestry.com, like, you get DNA matches and so on, I would always drop in there. I would always say, "I'd like to explore how we're related." And I would say, "Feel free to look at my Facebook and check me out." And I would tell them how I was listed there and say, "One letter different is my sister-in-law, so be sure you spell it right." and it did what you're saying. It took the edge off of it for them, I think, because I invited them to check me out.
Mm-hmm. Terry, I didn't even think of Ancestry.com. Is anybody else on Ancestry.com? No?
Oh, it's wonderful. It's wonderful.
Yeah. Go ahead, Lorelei.
I just, how we're all connected, but we don't realize it. But I'm sure that those gals that went to your 60th birthday, I'm sure they're still talking about it today. And it's just kind of like, like that ripple effect of authenticity. Like, they're still talking about it. They're still telling other people about it.
It's funny that you say that, Lorelei, because I had 3 people come from America for my birthday. and one of them was a musician, and he was able to get a guitar from somebody. I don't even know where he got this guitar from, but what with the cool thing that he did was he started singing happy birthday, and then he invited everybody else to sing happy birthday in their language because he had a guitar, and so the melody is the same. And so everybody got to uh, be be part of it. And it's right, Lorelai. Every time I visit with these people, it's like, oh my gosh, that was so much fun. And it's true. It's very true. Yeah. It was I think it was a cool experience for everybody. And I quite honestly, I was nervous because none of these people, well, not that's not true. Some of them had met one another because I ended up inviting people over to my house, over to our apartment for wine and hors d'oeuvres a couple of times to see if there was any connection between any of the women. And only a couple women ended up becoming friends. So, I was like, all right, so that's not my responsibility to see if I, like I can, make this, you know, like you, Terry, like everybody liked the same thing like that. I realized, oh, that wasn't, like that wasn't going to happen. So I ended up having this, you do this with that person and you go here with that person, and this person likes to do that, and that was pretty much how it stayed. And still I'm friends with those women even though I live an hour and a half away, because I can hop on the train and be at their door and vice versa, or drive up in the car and grab lunch together, and then we go our separate ways. So and some of the women have moved on because some of them were in the diplomatic corps, so some of them were either diplomats themselves or wives of or spouses of diplomats, so they have moved on to other countries. And that's cool also, because then I get to go visit them there.
Yeah. Yeah. I have friends that are quite a ways away, and they're still my friends. I have one friend that I've known since I was 14 years old. She lives 3,000 miles away in Virginia, and I visit her once in a blue moon, and we keep in touch all the time.
Just because I don't talk to them sometimes on a daily basis or even a weekly basis, I still have that connection, just like with my friends back in the US, right? I may see them, like when I was in California last month, I had a friend fly over from Arizona, and we spent 2 days on Coronado Island, and that was, like that was a blast, right? And I'm on my way to when we do this road trip. Hopefully, if all the dates click together, then I'll go and meet a woman that I never have met, but's in my Facebook group. A woman that I never have met. I'm gonna hook up with her in Germany, which she doesn't live in Germany. She's just visiting Germany. So I mean, that would be cool too. And it's like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're in the States or if you're in a different country. It's like, it's kind of like all the same. The states in the US generally are just bigger than the countries that are in Europe. We're the same size. Europe is the same size as the US. It's just, sometimes it's easier or it's more cost effective to travel throughout Europe than the US. But other than that, it's all the same. Gloria, you just said that, now you're in Oregon and you don't know anybody there. Could you see yourself, like, did you go to college in Eugene?
I did, yeah. But so
Oh.
I know lots of people in Oregon, in
Okay.
Portland,
Okay,
but
yeah.
I'm 2 hours away now.
Right.
Yeah.
So
You're kind of in the position I'm in. Yeah.
yeah.
So,
And so
I'm in
some
that
of
similar
the
position.
some of the girlfriends that I have are friends from high school, very long term. One lives in Boston. We can still keep in touch. It's
yes,
fun.
yes.
The hard thing for, like, I had a hard time when I moved to Tucson because I felt like after 4 years, I still never found my tribe. And
Okay.
it wasn't really for lack of trying, but also COVID hit shortly after I got there.
Oh,
Oh,
well, that
gosh.
everybody. Yeah.
That was a game changer. Yeah. And
Totally.
so I ended up with this group of girlfriends who knew each other and lived in very close proximity. And it was a very toxic group, I felt like.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
And
Oh.
so I won't make that mistake again. I've learned how to
Hooray.
prevent
Hooray.
that,
Yeah.
nip it in the bud. It's so much easier
Yeah.
that way. Because once
Yeah.
you're tangled into that, it's really hard to get out. And
Yes.
especially if those are the only people that I knew to hang out with. It's
Yeah.
like, well, I want to do something, and then like they don't ever want to go hiking or camping. They just want to go to happy hour. It's always happy hour, happy hour, happy
Yeah.
hour. And I'm like, I
I
swear
hear
to
you.
God, if I hear
Yeah.
those words again, I'm gonna scream. It's like I
Oh,
don't,
Gloria.
and I'm not
Sorry.
ready to be there at 4 o'clock. Like I'm not. So yeah. But also though, over the years, I've found it challenging. Um, and maybe it's because we're women and we are very busy, and men just can go out after work with their buddies or whatever. But I feel like women have a harder time making time for each other.
Oh, that, I mean, Gloria, seriously, that plays into the whole self-care thing, right? Men get to practice. Women don't practice. We do. Right? Men will go out and go to a bar, they don't know anybody because they're just going to hang out and they're just going to start talking about baseball or the latest sports thing or the whatever, and there they are. We women, we think when we go to a bar to go have a drink by ourselves, we think that we have to be this certain way, that we have to look a certain way, we have to drink a certain thing, we got to sit a certain way, talk to certain people. Like, all of that's just made up shit. The most fun thing I like to do now is go to a bar by myself. And sometimes I'll have my husband come and meet me like an hour later or 2 hours later and kind of hit on me. And so, we have this little thing going on. But I like the thrill of going to a bar by myself and actually sitting at the bar and seeing what happens. Sometimes stuff happens and I meet somebody. Sometimes nothing happens, or sometimes some asshole will come up and go, "Oh, geez, I really like that smile." And then I just call the bartender over and let's get done with that. Like I'll take advantage of bartenders, like, hey, I'm out alone, I don't need anybody sending me drinks. I don't want anybody to send me drinks. So if somebody wants to send me a drink, say sorry, she's not, like, she's not accepting. Like, I take care of myself because I travel alone a lot. I like to travel alone a lot. I like to do it. I even like to drive by myself alone, um, just to know that I can manage it, so that I don't as I used to I used to be afraid of everything and everybody. And I like, I wouldn't go anywhere. I wouldn't go down a street I didn't know. I would never go out to lunch or dinner or for drinks by myself. Like I would never, ever, ever do that. And then when you know, I knew that I had to do something different. Like I had to get over this. Not everybody wanted me, right? I wasn't that hot that everybody was going to hit on me, right? I needed to get over myself, and I needed to know, I needed to be smart enough to befriend the people that could help me navigate stuff. Like, hey, Mr. Bartender, this is my first time out for a drink by myself for the very first time. Kind of nervous. Okay, we got that out on the table, right? So this person, male or female or in between, is going to know that you know, keep my eye on her. You know, if somebody weird comes over, you know, I got your back, right? I don't do stupid stuff. So, I mean, you have to be, you know, smart about the places that you go and who you're talking to.
I just wanted to zero in on something you said.
Okay.
Okay. When you said you used to be afraid of everything, which is very hard to believe. But
right?
You said you had this fear, but you said it kind of fast. But I think what you were saying was you talked to yourself and told you to get over yourself, and not everybody was that interested in, you know, what you're doing. Kind of. Can you say a little more about that?
As women, to address what you were talking about, Gloria, right? As women, I think, at least I was brought up this way, that women had to act a certain way. We were supposed to be a certain a certain way. We were the nurturers of others, the caregivers, the arm candy on our husbands or on our boyfriends or on our significant others. And so and we, a lot of times we don't play sports. We don't grow up in sports in school. We don't practice, even though you might do yoga. But how many times have you taken a yoga class and when you're done with the yoga class, you go, oh, I didn't do that right, right? When yoga is actually a practice, right? So
it's actually
what, Terry?
It's actually what?
It's actually a practice.
Oh, a practice. Okay.
Yoga is actually a practice. But we as women, we don't get to practice. We have to make a great dinner. We have to make great love. We have to make great babies. And we don't get to practice having a baby. When do we get a dry run? Nobody teaches us how to have a baby. Nobody teaches us that it's going to hurt like hell. And I'll tell you something that's lighting me on fire right now. Okay, so I'm a birth doula. I've retired, but I was birth doula. So I went into labor and delivery with women. I have no medical background. I'm only there to support them. Here in Poland, there's a big movement going on right now because the hospitals are taking away pain medication for women in labor.
What?
Yeah. Taking away pain medication because it doesn't hurt. Right? Okay, so I'm a birth doula and I truly do believe in natural labor. I love a natural labor. I think that if a woman can understand it's going to hurt like hell and can understand that she needs to practice her breathing, she needs to practice squatting, she needs to practice. If she will do that, then she too can have a natural labor. If she chooses not to do that and rely on medical intervention, then that's cool too. I think that birth is whatever you're going to make out of it. But for the men sorry, the hospitals are usually driven by men. Sorry, hate to say it. But for the people that are in charge in the hospitals that say, oh, this doesn't hurt. You don't need medication. I'm going to take this away from you, but not replace that with birth classes. Right? We again don't get to practice. So we again get to tell ourselves that we are bad. We are stupid. We can't do this. Right? So it's no different than going to a bar by ourselves, having dinner or lunch by ourselves, or asking a friend, a person of interest to meet us for coffee. It's no different. It is a practice. It doesn't mean that I'm going to like this person that I'm going to meet for coffee. There were many times that I didn't give women my telephone number, that I didn't say, hey, let's exchange telephone numbers. And nor did they, because they knew, oh, this is great. Glad I got to sit with this woman for a while, but for an hour, but man, don't want to do that again. She felt that way. I felt that way. We didn't exchange numbers. Nobody got hurt. Right? Nobody got hurt. Just because she didn't love me right from the get-go didn't mean that I'm a bad person. I don't get to tell myself I'm a bad person because she wouldn't either give me her telephone number or ask to meet again. Doesn't make me a bad person. It just means I'm not her person. If you look at doing these things like learning to make new friends, no different than getting rid of the toxic ones. If you look at getting rid of the toxic ones, like there are other people that need this person. I'm not that person. So you're actually doing them a favor because you're not taking up any more of their time, right? You're going to release them to the people that they need to go hang out with. And that person isn't you. Yes, Lorley.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up. I thought that philosophy with a friend that just kept bugging the shit out of me for about 2 weeks, and then finally, he just whatever, and he turned to me and said, "Can we still be friends?" And like I was so pissed at him, but he left, and I thought to myself, let him release him to the people that he needs to be around, because it wasn't in my life, or it wasn't in my circle. And so that really helped me to like kind of just cut it, instead of festering and stuff. But the other thing I want to say is I'm single and I don't have any kids. And so I kind of like, I'm 67. I kind of like, with my family. But I finally realized when you had that authenticity talk a few weeks or last week, is that, okay, so family's family, but really, like, you made your girlfriends, they're kind of like your new family. And so you don't have to stress out your family with all your needs, It's just kind of cool to have like a family, cool, and then have your girlfriends, cool, That's what I wanted to say. It's nice to move away from your family.
I think that's a really great point, actually, that I really never thought of it in that way, because I do get to talk different things, have different conversations with my friends. Like, for instance, a lot of my friends are in my age group. So I'm having conversations about age-related things that I may be able to have with my daughters who are in their 40s, but they wouldn't understand the things that I'm confronted with. So it is true. I've got these segments of tribes, if you will, if you want to call it like that, or families of like-minded people for different reasons that I'm interacting with them on, and I seek them out for different reasons to help me navigate something that might be uncomfortable or that I might be stuck in my head about. But I think, and I've done a lot of research on this thing about practice. There's a great book called Confidence Code by Katie Kay and Claire Shipman. And these are two journalists that traveled around the world throughout their careers as journalists and saw firsthand the difference between interviewing a man and interviewing a woman, even if the woman was a president of a country. And so these two women decided to take a year off of their careers and just research and interview women about confidence. And, this goes way back, and it's no surprise that the world is in the situation that it is today when you look at who's ruling. Seriously, right? But I studied etiquette and protocol early on in my career because of the position that I was in at the time. And women were called the social secretaries of the house. That's what our title was. We were the social secretaries. So we held everything together. We were the woman behind the man. Like, we were why the man succeeded, right? Back in the 50s, the wife had to come along on the job interview because the company wanted to make sure that this guy had a woman that was going to be able to guide him through his career, because he couldn't fight his way out of a paper bag otherwise. But not trashing men. I love men. But I just want to keep reiterating to you that it's time to practice. It's time to not take ourselves so seriously. We're not that cool. I realized that, like, living, when I'm from Maine, and when I lived in Maine, it's a very small community, right? I don't know how many people lived in the town that I was from, but it was small, and everybody knew what everybody else was doing and saying and sleeping with and eating with, and, like, all of that stuff. And it wasn't until I started moving around between Arizona and California that I began to practice, if you will, because the people that I knew in Maine either came to me from school, from work, from family members. Somebody introduced them to me. So now, at this age in my life, because I've left my job, I'm working, in a different career, or I'm I'm retired, that could be too. It's up to you to make your life rich. Like, people aren't going to come knocking on your door just because you're cool, right? It's up to you. This isn't a magic pill, right? We can't take the friendship pill and go, oh, okay, I'm going to take my pill this morning, and all of a sudden I'm going to have people knocking at my door saying, hey, I can't wait to have coffee with you. That's not happening. But what is happening is so for instance, I say this a lot, where are the people that you want to hang out with? What are the things that you like to do? And you can list them down. What are the things that you like to do? Gloria, you had mentioned hiking instead of going out for happy hour. What are the things that you like to do? For me, it's travel. And I don't care what kind of travel, or like good food. Like I love to cook, but I really I love good food. Like eat, and it doesn't have to be expensive. Like the best croissant, like like I'll kill for the best croissant or the best cappuccino in any city. Like I will hunt that down. So what are the people doing that you like to do? Then where are they? Like for instance, on hooking yourself up with Eventbrite, right? The app Eventbrite, so that you get to see what the events or the meetups that are happening in the city that you happen to be in right now. It doesn't mean that you're going to be in that city forever, but you want to have you want to have a cool experience while you're there. So why not go and meet some people, even if you're there only for a few nights? Why not go and meet some people that could make your trip even more rich, right? That could tell you something cool about the city that you're visiting that you never would have discovered. Or if the city that you're living in, that maybe somebody's doing something, like there's an event on, I don't know, basket weaving, and but it's like, oh well, I'm free that night. Or there's a jazz band in town, or there's like, what are the people, what is it that you like to do, and where would you hang out if you had a group of friends to hang out with? That's where you want to go. That's where you want to go have a drink. That's where you want to go and take yourself out to breakfast. Breakfast is easy. I think that's like the starter meal to have alone. Because coffee shops are cool places. Coffee shops are kind of like a bar, but seen as a respectful pickup place. Right? So go and hang out at a coffee shop. Go get on Eventbrite. Like look up people on Facebook. Search by your community. If you like to garden, for instance, go to some gardening thing, like yoga in the park, or if you like pets, whatever the Humane Society has going on, go volunteer to walk dogs or pet cats or read a story to dogs. I hear dogs like stories read to them or something. I don't know. Yes, Terry, you got to go.
Quick addition. Well, I'm going to stay a little bit longer because I know this is the last one.
Okay.
And I'll be late to the other one. But I just wanted to interject. If you like to make stuff like jewelry or quilts or scrapbooking or any of that, I have belonged to those groups for over 20 years, and we go away for weekends and have a great time. So you can find those everywhere. Oh yeah, it's all you do is just, in my case, scrapbooking, and just look up scrapbooking on Facebook, and you'll find out, like, where, or quilting, or whatever it is you do, crocheting, whatever it is you do, and the groups that do that will pop up. And I've just gone wherever I go to, oh gosh, 3 or 4 different groups, throughout the state, and have these weekends, and they're wonderful. And we have combination ones where scrapbookers and quilters and jewelry makers will all go. They're not all doing the same thing necessarily. Cool. We go to camps, and like there'll be a leader that arranges it, and then you go and pay the fee for the camp, and you stay for several days together. It's pretty cool. I do that all the time. Oh, I throw that out. I had no idea. Thanks, Terry. I had no idea about that. So I think that if I can say anything about this, is to get out of your head. My fear in like going to a bar or going out to eat for the first time was that I had been hit on or molested by every boss I had in America except 2. Do people do that in Europe? Because I've had a similar experience. I don't talk about it, but I've had a similar experience. Yeah, unfortunately, yes, but not to the degree that it is in the not to the degree that I experienced in the U.S. And for me to
get the courage or the confidence to go out to a bar, and for me to get out of my head that I can do this safely, for instance. It took a lot, right? It took a lot for me to be okay with going to the bar by myself and then walking to my car, right? Because I had been followed to my car before. I had been followed home before from my workplace. I had been followed home. When I worked at Neiman Marcus in Boston, I had to have the security guards walk me to my car because I had been molested in the parking lot. So, I mean, it was just like I had so many fears about, you know, what people were thinking of me by taking myself out for a drink or taking myself out to lunch or dinner. I had thoughts in my head of, well, that's expected, Mary, for Pete's sake, you're out by yourself, like that's expected. Well, no, like no, it's not. I have every right to feel safe, right? I have every right to feel safe where I am. So, I had to start slow, start with a coffee shop, going to the coffee shop by myself with the intent of meeting somebody. Now, when I was in Arizona, I went through a leadership program called PSI. And one of the things that we had to do one day, one of the exercises was we had to go to a coffee shop and we had to buy the person either in front of us or behind us their coffee. And that was kind of the start of it. That was kind of like the start, because I thought at first I took this program because I was afraid of my own shadow. And I thought, oh, fuck, I can't do this. But you weren't allowed to come back into the room of this program until you had done it. So there were some people that did not come back. But I was like, I'll be goddamned if I'm not going to go back in that room. Like I'm doing this. And so that was kind of like the start of it. It was kind of forced me to do it. And I ended up having a really cool conversation with the person that I bought coffee for, that he actually was visiting Arizona. And again, like I was buying a man a cup of coffee, which freaked me out because I was like, he's going to think I'm hitting on him. He's going to like think I want him. Right. Stuff that I had made up in my head that I had to get rid of. Sorry if this is offensive to anybody, but I had to have a come to Jesus meeting with myself. Like I had to be like, you're here. This is a growth experiment. Like you're practicing. It was a really cool experience. And I have challenged myself with that ever since. So, maybe take that on as a challenge. Like, and I told this guy, I'm in a leadership program and I need to buy you a cup of coffee. And so, make some shit up. Like, I was on this call and this woman told me I had to buy somebody a cup of coffee. So I'm buying you a cup of coffee. Or you could do something totally random, like pay for the toll. If you're on a toll road, pay for the toll of the person behind you and drive off. Right. And then, it's like you do these little things, and then you get to do, bigger and better things. Yes, Lorelai.
You kind of hit on a topic that I discovered last week when you had your authenticity. Mm-hmm. Is like, okay, so I got rid of this and I got rid of this girlfriend. I got rid of Disneyland and started doing yoga or the beach, where it's cooler. But then I realized that like it was all stuff that I wanted, I needed to receive. And I thought, well, to really be authentic, maybe I shouldn't always be looking for things I need or from people, making a phone call. I needed to talk about this, but maybe I should be giving. And so like when you are paying the toll or when you're buying the coffee, you're giving out to the world. and it just multiplies for you. So, but it's really hard for me, my ego, to not try to receive something from a phone call, but to give. So that was
Bravo.
Yeah.
Bravo. I think you hit it, Lorelai. I think that you hit it right there. When we are in service, like when we are letting our light shine and giving back to the world, we are unstoppable, and the world is ready to receive what we've got to give. I think that that's great, and I thank you for sharing that. That was a super, super thought. Kira, you haven't said a thing. What's up with you?
Hello, I'm sorry. I'm in my office and I could not, first Zoom wouldn't work. And then when it worked, we have a foster, a puppy that the office is helping to foster to get adopted. And, it was my turn to watch this little dog. So things just got out of control. And I apologize if I interrupted.
No worries.
Just popped in the middle. Happy to be here. I loved everything I was hearing. I don't know where the meeting started and what people shared, but hello, ladies. I showed up today because I love seeing you. You always make me happy.
Thank you.
Maybe that's why you were named what you were named. I don't know.
That is so funny because I have no story behind my name, and I would love a story. My mother's name was Marie, but I have two sisters. One of them's name is Karen, the other one's name is Bridget, and they named me Mary. That's my original spelling of my name, Merry. I wasn't born at Christmas time. As I said, my mother's name was Marie, and there is no story behind my name, but it truly does fit me. And I don't know if it fits me because I grew into it, or if it was just meant to be or something. Like I don't know that. If I was called Sarah, I don't know if I like.
No, I feel like it was meant to be. It's okay, Bina. It's okay. I do. I feel like it was meant to be. But it it does. It's always a good feeling to be able to see you. And I loved the topic. I do think it's something that in general more women are aware of. Maybe men are also trying to do the same thing and create these meaningful relationships and friendships and enrich their lives. Maybe they are, but I don't think many of them think that deeply necessarily. So for women, I think we just have to be more intentional, and we're all out there. We're just not, we think that everyone else is doing great. We think everyone else has the perfect setup, is friends with tons of people. We look on social media and we assume that, their life is so full and rich, and that we're the only ones thinking, wouldn't it be nice to go to a museum with someone, or wouldn't it be nice to go have coffee or take a hike or a weekend trip? Wouldn't it be nice? But we aren't in that situation, but they are good. No, I think there's more people that are looking for that opportunity to connect. And I think that one of the most important points that you made for me was about putting in the work. There is no pill for it. It's not going to come to you, because I think really the situation I just described, it's like a bunch of islands. We're all in the same ocean, but if everybody's an island and there's no peninsula, there's no there's no connection, people just continue to be that island, even though you're all in the same sea.
Yeah.
Somebody has to initiate the movement. So, whether it's a all-out paddle, a float, whatever it takes, there has to be some movement from someone in order for that connection to happen. I was really just happy to hear what people were sharing.
No, I'm glad. I'm glad that you were here. I think yet again, I think, speaking to your analogy of this, I think that the other thing on top of that we have to make sure of is that we then are not being self-critical when something doesn't work out, when we decide, gee, I don't really want to hang out with this person, or I don't want to go to a museum with this person. Like, I think that you have to be careful about the self-talk that you have when you are practicing or trying something new, that it doesn't always have to work out. And that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. It's actually, if you take the time to notice, and I always talk about this, the pause that makes all the difference. Like, after coffee is said and done, did you enjoy it? Yes or no? You don't have to be like, oh, I wish I had said this, or I wish I had said that. This is, oh my gosh, how cute. This is a yes or no kind of answer. Like, it's not, you don't have to be critical or judgmental about that other person, and you don't have to be critical and judgmental about yourself. It's just, did I have a good time? Yes or no? Would I do this again? Yes or no? Okay, on to the next one. Or I want to go do this again and meet somebody else. But it's like you've got to get on an island. You got to get there so that people can get to you. Like, I like this island because it has palm trees and a beautiful beach. Or I like this island because it has a mountain that I can go hike on. And I like this island because they grow bananas and I love bananas. Like, you don't have to be everything to everybody, nor does everybody else.
Yeah, and we need proximity, though. I mean, I think that's we need proximity, and one of the for me anyway, I've always been an introvert. I enjoy being with people, but naturally, I'm by myself a lot, and my friendships throughout my life have always been situational. I went to school with someone. I was in a class with someone. I worked with someone. I lived in a neighborhood. My kids were in school, so I was with the other class parents. So what happens, as we go through life, our situations change, and I think that for a lot of women in particular, at different stages in your life, your situation is different, and you don't have the relationships that worked for you 10 years ago. Maybe that's not the kind of relationship you want or need now.
Amen.
And you have to really, it's hard to let go of it if it's not nurturing to you, not bringing any joy to your life. We sometimes just keep going because, well, we've been friends for 40 years, but have you? Like, have you? So, that's where I'm at now. I'm at a different stage in my life. Family, work, everything is different than it was, including my physical location. So I find myself alone more than I would like to be. I'm surrounded by good people. I still have family, but it's not nurturing in the way that I am looking for. I would love to have women to occasionally do all of a sudden a happy hour. Hate to say it, but yes, occasionally, one cosmopolitan or a wine tasting. There's tons of book clubs, and I do a virtual book club, but it doesn't bring me the same satisfaction necessarily as sitting at a table laughing with a group of women or having an intense discussion about the great book. So that's I'm trying to figure out, how do I create that? How do I go forward with that? And you gave me one clue, is to be willing to be a little uncomfortable and to work with myself a little past my own discomfort, because that's what's stopping me from from finding that.
Kira, what you said about being an introvert is, believe it or not, I'm the same way. I can honestly, I can stand up in front of a group of thousands of people and speak. I was brought up being a speaker. Like that's what I know. I can be on stage. I can be in front of people. I can be the presenter, be the interviewer, if you will. That's where I'm comfortable. But put me in a one-on-one relationship, and I have sweaty pits, sweaty palms. I'm uncomfortable. What am I going to say? I don't know what to talk about. I don't know where to begin. Like all of it, full out, all of it. Don't invite me to a party. I hate parties. I can't go to a party unless I have like the extrovert, because I just can't navigate it. I would rather be plastered against the wall and pray to God that nobody sees me. Thanks, Terry. That say that nobody sees me, because I don't know how to interact. Like I can't. And that is, yet again, that is why this is so important as we age, is because our lives as women are constantly in transition. We are constantly having to try and figure life out. And again, we don't get to practice. Stop the negative self-talk. Stop the I'm not enough for whatever reason, and go out and figure out where the people are that are doing the things that you like to do. Where do they hang out? For Kira, what are they reading? I want to go hang out with them. Get on Eventbrite, see what's happening in your neighborhood. Get up on Meetup, see what's happening in your neighborhood, and go. Just go. Even if you sit in the back of the room, just go and know. And then you get to say, oh, I'm not that hot. I had this impression that I had to be a certain way in order for people to like me. And that's just the total exact opposite of what you want to be thinking. You want to be thinking, this is how I am. This is how this is me. And see who I'm going to attract by being me, not by being somebody that I think that everybody else wants me to be, because that's what got us into this situation in the first place. Got us into the bad relationships, the bad marriages, the bad jobs, like, because we thought we needed to be something that to please somebody else. That's not what this is about. This is about what is it that's going to enrich my life, and how can I enrich somebody else's life by being true to who I am? As I said earlier, this isn't a magic pill. You're the one that actually has to do the work, which is true, quite honestly, for all self-growth, is that you're the one that has to do the work. And we don't have to make big steps. This isn't, it's not like I'm telling you to go out and have a 5-course meal with a person that you just met. I'm like, meet him for a drink of water. Hey, there's a pet show going on down the street. Do you want to go? Like, you don't even have to sit down with somebody. You can go for a walk with somebody. You know what I mean? It's like, do what you're comfortable with, but do something. Because I'll tell you, the thing that I have learned through all of this is that there are people out there that are looking for people like me. And I will tell you, for each one of you, there are people out there that are looking for their next best friend. And it could be you, if you would allow yourself to try something new, right?
There's a walking group.
There's a walking group in Arkansas where you are?
Yeah, I just found out about them. This gal told me about, she just moved here from Texas, and there's a walking group of about 12 ladies, and they call themselves the Walkie Talkies. And she said she was brand new in the area, and she just happened to, I think maybe on a walk or something, ran into them. She goes, sometimes 3 show up, sometimes 12 show up. And the only thing that stopped me from jumping on that, this was about 3 weeks ago, was that they meet at 7 a.m. And then they walk a long ways. And so that's what's holding me back. But, after listening to this, I'm like, as soon as I get off of here, I'm going to text her and said, I need to join your group. And
that's great.
Get out of my comfort zone and get up early and meet them. And I like she said, you don't have to show up every day. No one shows up every time.
Yeah.
But there's maybe someone in that group, or many people. I mean, we have something in common right now. I love the outdoors. Yeah.
Yay.
And there's meetup. Yeah. And I wrote that down. There's meetups and the yoga, and there's the happy hour group, which I've been going to that on Fridays, about at least once or twice a month. So I haven't met a bestie yet. I really want a best friend here. I have my best friends in Arizona, and we talk on the phone like every 3 or 4 days. Mm-hmm. It's not the same though.
Well, you know what? I think this is my experience, is that I have a best friend in Arizona, and I have a best friend in Warsaw. I really don't have a best friend here in the city that I live in. My best friend in Arizona is very different from my best friend in Warsaw. When you talk about finding a best friend, try to be open about what that best friend might look like and feel like. Because my best friend in Arizona, I still talk about different things than I talk with about my best friend in Warsaw. I had to let go of what it looked like or was supposed to be like. Like I love hanging around this woman in Warsaw. I adore her. It's a different adore than my friend in Arizona. When you've moved, or you're trying to find that new whatever BFF, make sure that you're not comparing them or trying to fill that void of that other person, because it's just, you're going to be let down.
I want to say, to add to that, one thing I've learned is that these relationships take time. Like, it takes time for people, because I know who I am, and then I feel like other people should just know who I am, and it doesn't work that way, right? It takes time. You have to prove who you are. You have to learn who they are, really. And it just takes time. So it doesn't happen immediately.
Anyway, this has been a great conversation. I'm sorry I went over, but I love talking about this. I think that, we as women, need to cut ourselves some slack. We need to give ourselves a break. We don't have to be everything to everybody. We are not going to be everything to everybody, especially when we're finding new friends. And we need to go check things out and see who fits. And if they don't fit, it's okay for us to leave them behind, because there's somebody else that they're going to fit much better on. So I hope that you got something out of this. I hope that this was good for you. Next Tuesday's discussion is, where would you live if you could? So it's a discussion about moving, about doing something different, being someplace different, maybe being with somebody different. I'm going to be joined by Kirsten Krause, who is originally from Germany. She spends her time now between New Zealand and India. And she is looking for her place in the world and what makes her sing and how she's going to afford to be wherever she decides that she wants to be. So a lot of things are going to be discussed in next week's topic. How do we finance our lives? How do we decide? What is it, a feeling? Is it, the stars aligned and this is your place? Like, what is going to happen? So that is next week's discussion. Hopefully we'll see you there. If not, you always get the recording on YouTube, usually by the end of the week, if I'm able to edit it and get it out on time and up. But anyway, thank you for showing up. I appreciate your comments and being here as we traverse. How do we find friends after 50?